we're we're on. We're live streaming from Headversity. Here we go.
From Headversity right now. What's up, Headversity world?
Hello.
Oh, there's the music.
It's weird. You wait for this theme song all week long.
I've waited for like for 6 months.
Has it been that long?
I don't know. I was thinking about that today. I can't remember. It seemed like too long. Could we just say that?
Yeah,
It felt like too.
It felt like Christmas time. Dr. Ryan Todd, you got to be in once every quarter at a minimum.
A quarterly
And I'm putting my
report.
paper over
Yeah.
like this is not good.
No.
You can't block out
Don't block
a pretty
it off.
face like
Don't
that.
you know we're on Instagram Live? Idiot.
Instagram.
This is what it feels like to do media stuff. real media stuff.
Real media. Because
Real.
this is real locker room
Real
talk.
locker room
You
talk.
can't edit
Real
what's
doctor.
going on
You
here.
can't edit. This is what happens each and every week.
Unbelievable.
And we just got better looking.
yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
I'm even watching the live
You're watching it?
on my phone right now. Just
Oh, that's
down.
so
I see
neat.
my
Yeah, look
paper
at that.
going up. I see it going
Yeah.
in front of Ryan's
Don't do that.
face. It's crazy.
Are you going to be okay? You're a hand talker. Are you going to be okay?
No, I'm not going to be okay.
Yeah, you look like you're kind of stuck in a little corner, but you're not.
There's a bit of a lag.
Yeah.
I do look really good. I'm actually glad that you're out of the picture, Mitch,
Yes.
that we can't see your
Agreed.
face.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
it's crazy.
All I'm worried about is that your camera doesn't get a button snapping at it in the middle of the.
Like Mitch was making fun of me because of the Infinity War Marvel movie that's
Yeah.
coming out, and
I've heard mixed reviews.
yeah, and so does Mitch on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But I said he actually looks like he's been hiding in his basement for 20 years.
Yeah, but you know what? I do something when I'm in my basement. I am working on world domination. What you guys are doing is lining up across the world and waiting to watch superheroes
Yeah.
possibly win or not win or whatever's going on. And by the way,
If you ruin
I
anything
no,
for
I
me,
won't. I promise you. I'm
don't
a
do that,
gentleman.
Mitch.
I won't
Don't
do that
do
to
it.
you. I will not do that. However, I got to be honest.
I don't
You
want
guys,
you to be a liar.
you guys all need to like just chill, just
Oh,
relax.
come on, relax,
Just relax.
man.
But
Hey,
I am. It is kind of neat to see that you guys destroyed the box office this weekend. Like you guys shattered
Did
whatever.
you hear the
record.
numbers?
Who is you guys? Like, how is this a you guys?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
How does Dimitri have?
Dimitri has a
Do you
clan
have
of.
stocks? Do you have like? Are you an owner?
I got comic books.
I like to put Dimitri in that category of the guys that are like heavy into all comic books.
Yeah.
Star Wars, Star
Nerd. You're
Trek.
basically calling me
I
a
don't want
nerd.
to call you a nerd
Just
because
do
I don't
it,
think
Mitch.
that's nerd is cool now. So it's like it's the opposite of what I would
Absolutely.
call you. Yeah, exactly.
It's better than being a geek.
But
that's what you
congratulations,
don't
like,
want to be.
Yeah.
you guys
Mhm.
beat
Yeah.
out what the Fast and the Furious actually held the believe it or
Yeah,
not.
I think they beat out Fast and Furious episode 243.
Yeah, something like that. The
With The
return
Rock.
of the Pinto. Yeah,
The return of the Pinto.
it was. They crushed the numbers there. But I got a question. So the one of the characters in this, just because I'm very curious, is Thanos, right?
Right.
Which sounds like a Greek god. It's
gotta be.
Does
That's why he's so
does he
powerful.
overpower Zeus? I always thought. I mean, we're Greek. We grew up.
Right.
I thought Zeus was the big
Zeus
guy.
was Zeus. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So where did this
Take us
Thanos
back,
coming from?
Dimitri. This is your company. You're
Yeah.
Greek.
You know what?
This is your expertise.
Look,
Yeah.
Zeus was the longest reigning defending god champion out there. We know that. Thunderbolts, everything, top of Mount
Well,
Olympus.
apparently not. Like,
But I think Thanos takes him over.
was he cousins or second cousins with Zeus?
Kubati.
Kubati. That's what
They,
I
were,
thought,
they,
yeah.
they married each other.
Forgot. We always forget about Kabati.
Kubati. That's right. Well, guess who's back? Episode 30. Here we go. We've already started. We're already going heavy into it. You heard a third voice, and
did.
didn't it sound so like soothing?
It sounds so smart.
So well, absolutely.
It's a smart voice.
It's a very smart voice. Welcome back, Dr. Ryan Todd.
Thank you very much for having me. So excited to be here. I had so much fun last time. I was just like itching to get back.
You know, Dr. Ryan Todd, because I can't even call you Ryan. We established that last episode. But I know we told you before, but to reiterate, the episode that you were on got such a huge response. And not only was it just a good episode overall, but people were very, very intrigued in the topic that we were talking about. And I really feel that we did a good job, at least just reaching a few more people that maybe it helped them or paid attention to. But you got something new going on as well, not just what you're doing in the professional field, helping the athletes and people. Why don't you tell us? It's called Headversity. I see the head hacks all the time on Instagram.
Yeah.
Just tell us about it.
Yeah, so adversity, I mean, the one of the reasons I went into psychiatry was to just I mean, working one-on-one with people is an amazing experience, like incredible. And your reach is limited, right, by just that kind of one-on-one experience. So with the Macromind Media team around me, we're essentially launching our first product. And that product is a couple of different things, but Headversity is we're doing a lot of educational pieces. So we're launching a headversity.com website in the coming months with the primary topics of mental health, mental performance, and resilience. So we're getting a number of bloggers, vloggers. We're starting a podcast. We're pulling in all kinds of media, especially new media, kind of like millennial-friendly media on different areas of mental health, mental performance, and resilience. So that's coming up in the next couple months. In likely the next 6 months, we're launching an occupational mental health program. So we're getting into the workplaces, helping people essentially perform better, be resilient, and stay mentally well is really the thrust of the entire program, the Headversity program. And it's myself and Dr. Karen McNeil, who's the lead mental health counselor for the Canadian Olympic team. So she's bringing the high performance aspect. I'm bringing the mental health piece. And we're working together on building a curriculum, a learning platform so people can get on their phones and learn about these things. And we're doing workshops kind of in various workplaces. And we're starting right here in Calgary.
That's excellent. Really cool. And for those that don't follow, it's at Headversity, is it?
Yeah, so follow us, our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is at Headversity. We're probably most active on Instagram or streaming live.
Yeah, and you know what's really good for all the locker room roster here that's listening, what's great about the Headversity, so just so you know, it's an orange logo with the white H in there. But what I like what you do is you take requests about topics all the time. And that's something to keep in mind. So for all of you, if you want a private message, if you want to just put it on one of the streams, let them know. Let Dr. Ryan Todd and the team know something that you want them to talk about.
Absolutely.
You know, and he'll go anywhere in Calgary.
That's been actually one of the coolest things is just people like around the like social media is so amazing, right? Yeah. We take it for granted now, but people all over the world will just have like a very thoughtful question about mental health, interaction with social media, kind of mental health in the new world sort of pieces. And and I'm challenged every week to try and answer those in a minute in like an Instagram clip. And I just love that. Like it's a very cool part of what I do.
Before we answer all the questions, we can't answer all the questions because before we get into anything, we can't even do this show before we get through the right parts.
I think you're right.
And Jeff, cue the music. Oh man, that music right there gets me about as excited as macromindmedia.com. Macro media. Boys at macromindmedia.com. Dr. Ryan Todd, Jordan Cameron, the boys, everyone we know so well. Check out the portfolio. If you haven't, check it out. I just told you to do that.
Do it. Yeah.
Then like, what are you waiting so long? Check out our website. See how much better we are than you because we use Macromind Media.
Exactly.
Now, Mitch, if I were to tell you, Dr. Ryan, you know this. I don't got to tell you the stats. You guys see it all the time. We are over 1,000 followers cross-platform. Boom, in your face.
That's homegrown. Homegrown. I'm always proud of that. I'm always proud of
really
that.
Good for you guys.
It's unbelievable.
For you
But
guys.
Macromind Media, I mean, the countries are just incredible.
You got a new country? Maybe? Okay, I know. You like to hold it back on me. I know. It's okay. That's fine.
If I were to tell you...
I knew there was something.
If I were to tell you...
What do you got?
That we got to download, you're not going to guess it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll tell you. Egypt.
Egypt?
Nicely
No,
done.
I would not have guessed Egypt. You're correct.
I'm thinking because of the Greek ties, Greek downloads, close country, kind of in the proximity. Boom. Egypt.
We got a lot of feedback, too, from last week. Good buddies of mine out of South Carolina gave us a call. They kind of recently just jumped in, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit. They told me they like you better than they like me, which is kind of hard to believe because they're family, so it's kind of weird.
Ooh.
Yeah, it broke my heart.
You know, normally I'd say family, they'll do that just to make fun of you, but they're actually right.
But guess who got crossed off the list?
Particular
That's the thing.
circumstance.
They got crossed off the list. Guess who's not coming to the wedding now?
Oh, they took themselves off.
You know who you are, George. So, yeah. But, you know what? Just because we have Dr. Ryan Todd here doesn't mean we're kind of parlaying everything and we're going to only talk concussions or mental illness today. Today, we're going to stay on the platform, but we are going to have a nice little segment a little bit later. Dr. Ryan Todd's a huge sports fan, right?
That's what I do every day. I see athletes I got into this field so I could work with athletes. I love sport.
So cool.
Yeah.
Mitch, what do we got planned
Yeah.
for today?
We
What are we doing?
We are going to get down to the final. So, Dr. Ryan Todd, if you know or you don't know, we had a GOAT list. We had the greatest of all time.
I've been paying close attention to
Absolutely.
this list.
And
I have
we
a couple
got it
things
down to the
say.
finalists. And people this week said, hey, who are the finals? Well, we revealed it last week. However, we didn't get the final 2 polls out, but we decided we're going to sit here with you because we want your insight.
Wow.
We want you to convince the people, who do you like, Wayne or Jordan? That's coming up soon. What else we got?
Oh, man, we're talking NBA, obviously, what's going on in the playoffs.
Yeah.
On the topic of playoffs, we're talking NHL playoffs.
Absolutely. Always second round, getting crazy.
Ooh,
Me
things
and
are
you
heating
watched a
up.
little hockey together. That was
We
kind
did,
of,
we did.
Doing some research, as I call
I
it.
can't believe that game went into overtime.
I was actually quite surprised myself.
Interesting.
Yes. I was in bed by then. But anyways.
We're talking Vegas. Vegas,
talking-
San Jose. Yeah.
And then we're also going to do your favorite thing. You live for this. I truly believe you live
the
for it.
life I live, Mitch.
True.
Another episode of Dirty Locker 19. It's just unbelievable what happens.
And of course, we're going to talk a little bit about concussions, mental illness, all that fun stuff that Dr. Ryan Todd knows way more than anyone else we know about, so we can get some insight in that. And of course, we're going to close it off with everyone's favorite, Maga versus Malaka.
Unbelievable. What a great show.
It is taking off.
a great
It's skyrocketing,
segment.
everyone.
It's the best thing we got. And we do it at the end.
we do it.
People wait an hour and a half for this.
Yes.
Yeah, just to bait them. We're baiters. We bait
Exactly.
the people to come in.
But I got some breaking news. Baseball is still going on.
Is that still going on?
Yeah, it's still going. They only have 134 more games.
Oh,
left.
okay.
However,
Wow.
what I thought I would do is I checked into just to make sure that we didn't miss it, because sometimes I worry that we talk about NHL and
Yeah, well,
NBA
you know
so
what?
much that we're going to forget about baseball.
Yeah, every single,
about
I think,
CFL?
like 3 months something happens.
Exactly. What I wanted to, some people are like,
There
what
will
would
be
I-
no trash talk about baseball while I'm on the show. All right. I need to establish that.
Did it
I was
start?
hoping
Yeah.
we could talk Jays. We're 2
What-
months into the
we
season
will.
now,
Actually, we
fellas.
can talk about it right now. You know what? I'm going to change this all up.
Are we talking Jays?
We're gonna take, but before we get to the Jays,
Did baseball
in the
start,
same,
guys?
In the same division, I want to go to Dr. Ryan Todd. Do you know what $325 million can buy you? Do you know what it can buy you in this day and age? It can buy you cars. It can buy you luxury homes. It can also buy you Giancarlo Stanton.
Carlos Stanton. I was going with it. That it'll buy you his contract, and he's had a tough start.
Oh, let me
The
just
guy's
give
had
you
a
a quick
tough
little
start.
rundown.
And Mitch isn't even
Man.
a stats guy, but he's got stats.
I got some stats today just because I was mesmerized by what this money will get you. So, for all those out there, if you have $325 million and you want to disperse that over 13 years, this is what you can get for it. You can get, in 28 games, you can get an average of 230 at the plate. Horrible. So sad. I feel bad for the guy. He's never been a hit guy, so I'll lay off on him there, okay?
That's pretty much what I
So,
scale.
obviously, he's got tons of home runs, right? Tons. 5 home runs. 5 home runs. 2 of them he hit on opening day.
That's a tough
And then
sell.
he's also got a staggering, crazy number of 15 RBIs. So, Dr. Ryan Tyler, here's a great little way to get you right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this a mental thing? Going from Miami, no one's there, no one's at the games, crushing it last year's NL MVP.
Comes in game 1, kaboom, kaboom.
Kaboom, exactly. And now he's in the big market in New York. Is this why?
I think there's so much pressure, like pressure that we just don't have access to or understand with signing that kind of money, and just how that plays with your mind every day when you're at the plate. However, you do hear this about the Yankees, that they have such a high performance culture that they seem to be like insulated from it. Like I had a friend, and you hear players who go, they play, they get traded from the Pirates or the Brewers, and they're stars there, and they go to the Yankees, and they become like, in a sense, anonymous on that team because they're surrounded with other stars. So typically, like the Red Sox, the Yankees, they perform so well every year because they have that like high performance culture. And so he's obviously not immune to the effects of this pressure. I'm surprised by him in particular, especially because Aaron Judge is, he's hitting reasonably well, and he's protected at the plate. Like wherever he's hitting, he has hitters around him. So I mean, the guy is, what are we going to say about it? He should be performing at the level of his contract, but how do you expect that?
Yeah, and apparently the season's already a couple months in.
Yeah, it started without us knowing. We've joked around about it. We said baseball's got this hype. It's like New Year's Eve, right?
Yeah,
We've said
just
this a
take
few
me in
times now.
October.
It
Let me
starts
know.
up,
Let me
you
know in
expect it,
October.
Absolutely.
That's a fair take.
But because Dr. Ryan Todd's here, I'm
Well,
I'm accommodating to the.
You're a
to the
gentleman.
guest. I'm a gentleman. Let's talk about the Jays.
Let's talk about him.
Are you surprised how well? I think the Jays are actually doing quite well.
Yeah, I mean they needed the win against Minnesota to kind of turn things around. They obviously had a tough series against the Yankees, tough series against the Red Sox. Before that, they were on fire. I think like I've been talking to some buddies, like half of our contingent of macro minds in Toronto. We've all kind of been waiting for that other shoe to fall. Obviously, it has with Stroman. Jay Happ still pitching well. Sanchez is pitching reasonably well. I mean, if they can still produce at the plate the way they are, I think they should be okay this year.
Ryan, what
just such an
is
old team.
success for Toronto this year as a Toronto fan? This is a team that went from World Series favorites 2 years ago, losing Encarnacion, losing Bautista, slow, like it's this slow decline. So are Toronto fans happy if they just contend for the wild card? What is it? What is success?
I think this year it's a wild card spot, especially because the Red Sox and the Yankees, like no one expected them to be anonymous in that division forever. And like the Jays had that kind of window, right, where they had the huge power and they had Bautista, they had Encarnacion, they had great pitching. That was their year. And there was just this sense that if they didn't do it that year, it was not going to work the next year. So when they played the KC Royals, it was just like devastating that they lost because you're just like, oh, this is never going to happen again.
That's right.
Like a team like Toronto, can they keep Encarnacion? They couldn't, and they didn't. And so, yeah, I think this year's success is a wild card spot, and they can do that, like reasonably do that if they
It's
keep
the toughest
heading
division in baseball.
easily.
I mean, how
For
do
sure.
you
For
have Boston and New York,
Yeah.
budgets up the wazoo.
Yeah,
I mean, how can you compete when these teams can honestly plug 28, 30? Rodriguez was doing when he was playing 27. I mean, $30 million a year you can give to a player and say, yeah, we can do that. They took Price from the Jays.
Yeah. The Blue Jays, they are a high market team, and we forget this because we're Canadian and we think it's all small ball, like everything we do. It's also a publicly owned team, right? Like Rogers, as a company, views it as an arm of their revenue generating, like they would with like cellular networks or cellular devices. So in that way, like the Yankees and the Dodgers, for example, will put in whatever it takes, $325 million. They don't care if they get Giancarlo Stanton, they'll do it. The Jays won't do it unless it makes financial sense.
You know what
So
I
in
think
that
the answer
sense,
is? Anthopoulos.
He's coming back.
He's got to bring Anthopoulos back.
Well, he's got a big position in Atlanta now. He's not going.
think
But
he's
you know
doing
what?
okay.
I think the Jays, just as a
okay.
team, asked for a trade. They're like, "Can we get traded to Miami? Like
A
reverse
player.
it? Hi, we'd like to be traded to the Miami division, and Miami comes over here."
Yeah, we want to trade team
Yeah.
for team, straight
Just
up,
straight up,
$10,000 in cash,
exactly.
and a third round
Toronto
conditional.
goes to the National League,
Yeah.
and Miami comes over to the American.
and Bo Jackson.
Exactly, and and a Bo Jackson to be named later.
Just be like, yeah, we got him on the roster.
100%.
I don't see him on the papers. But, don't worry about
I'm
it.
gonna throw one more at you, just real quick. Does Donaldson stay? Does he, or is he gonna jump on the market? He's hurt. That calf is not letting him find the marketplace.
So I mean that's going to hurt his value this
No,
year.
absolutely.
They have. I did not foresee him when he signed that 2-year extension. I felt at that time, as did a lot of kind of like baseball folks in Toronto, that was the sentence that would take him away from Toronto eventually. That was putting the cap on his playing career in Toronto. So I don't see him sticking around. But come playoff time. I mean, like if they're in the mix for the wild card, I think they're going to make a push to try and keep that guy.
Oh, absolutely.
I think if you didn't, there'd be uproar in that city in terms of.
But baseball is that one sport where, you know what, Donaldson did what he did. He had that career year. Then the
MVP.
next year he kind of replicated, but wasn't even in the standings for MVP.
Yeah.
Now he's unfortunately tailing off a little
You
bit.
age
I think
so
they're gonna
quickly
get
in baseball.
so crazy.
Donaldson
Yeah.
just seems to me the type of guy that doesn't want to do it all on his own. He's
Yeah.
not that bona fide leader. He wants to be part of a good team. I think he would leave if they don't promise at least bringing something back in.
Yeah.
Right. It could be wrong. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
Right. I got Bautista. I felt when he was playing for the Jays that he felt that this is my team. But
it is amazing, to Mitch's point, how in baseball you hit that like 31, 32, 33 threshold. Like there's no, like Albert Pujols aside, there's no like Zdeno Charas of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
There's like he's had a tough playoff so far. But like there's no like real ageless wonders in the league anymore.
There's
right?
one. Bartolo Colon.
he was phenomenal.
And he's gotten
against the
better
Jays.
looking as the years have gone
Sexy
on.
I just saw
Cologne.
today, in fact, randomly, I saw the best quote, speaking of workhorses, from Cal Ripken Jr. And when they asked him about the 2,632 straight games that he played,
Yeah.
they're like, how did you do it? Where did you find the motivation? And he goes, I showed up to work every day because I didn't know if that was going to be my best day at work.
It's a good mentality.
What a great quote.
I like that.
Just like episode 30.
You know what?
That's why you show up every week.
Exactly.
Might be the best.
Might be the best.
Real locker room
Well,
talk.
speaking of the best, let's get into the GOAT talk.
Let's
We
do
have
it.
the finalists. The finalists have been determined by you, the listeners. It is the great one, Wayne Gretzky, versus the other great one, Michael Jordan. So
Unbelievable. We were going to put the poll up last week. We decided not to because it wasn't enough time. Did people hear the episode? We got the episode on a bit late. We said, we know Dr. Ryan Todd's coming on. He's smart. Maybe he could just settle it right now. Maybe
Yeah.
we won't need a vote.
you know what? Exactly. Why
You
don't
know,
you just
so
settle this
just
right
say-
now? Exactly.
But Michael Jordan versus Wayne Gretzky out of 64. We proved the sportscasters wrong. The real locker room talk way is the way to go.
Absolutely.
But which way does Dr. Ryan Todd go and why? Oh, the music's amped up too.
And do you agree with the final? Maybe there was somebody that you kind of felt. I have a feeling there was a guy you liked.
Yeah, I like Federer in there actually. Like the guy's just a robot. You know, I love Federer's mentality. Like he'll take home Wimbledon, and he'll just speak in his like beautiful accent, and just like it was nothing for him. So I like Federer.
I agree with you there.
Okay.
He's 36 and
Unbelievable.
still
He's still
that's
crushing.
that's
Still
the one
crushing.
thing. At 36 years old, this gentleman can still be the best in the world.
And he plays so much.
Oh.
He's not like Rafe, where he'll take a season off and recover,
Yeah, 'cause he's
and
doing
then
drugs.
compete.
Yeah, exactly.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. It's speculation.
Throwing it out there. He's throwing it out.
You're allowed to say anything you want on this show. Like there's no accountability on this program.
It's rumors. It's rumors.
You see what I deal with on the constant, man? You see what I deal with?
Unbelievable.
My
Last
wife's
week he
Serbian.
held himself back.
Unbelievable.
Last week he
My
held
wife is
himself back.
Serbian. This is a shot against Novak Djokovic. We have to say everyone's on drugs. Federer could be doping too. No, I'm kidding.
Zero accountability.
Zero. I'm trying, buddy. I try.
How do you-
it's
how do
like
you
herding
implement
cats. It's
something?
impossible.
Yeah.
I can't hold him down. He's just
Got excited.
Yeah,
Got
exactly.
excited. I'm saying, take it
So
back.
if you had to choose right now, or if you want to convince the listeners, Dr. Ryan Todd, who do you like between these two? The great one versus the other great one. Wayne versus.
I mean, they both, in a sense, changed the way their respective games were being played. We will never look at basketball the same. The way Jordan moved, how he passed, how he jumped. The Gretter, he did it on so many different teams at such an age that I have to go with the Gretter. And his vision of the ice is still just impeccable. Okay, so there's some arguments against Gretzky. He was well protected. He had Semenko. He had Messi. He had an excellent team around him for years. However, he left and he still succeeded. He didn't need the Oilers when he succeeded. You did not see Jordan do that. Jordan only did it with the Bulls.
True. That's actually a very good point. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm gonna try to.
Mitch,
convince
what was it?
people.
What's your vote? I think we talked about.
You know
it.
what? My vote from day one has been Gretzky.
Yeah.
And the more and more I keep saying it, and the more I look at his stats and I see his overall demeanor, you got to go with Gretzky.
Yeah.
The things he did, and as you said, open ice. And I've hated that argument where people are, well, he's protected. Yeah, so what? Like,
Okay, I don't buy that for a second.
Semenko, yeah, he would chase the guy that maybe went after him, but that was like on another shift. Gretzky still had to go out there and operate.
They were trying to shut him down.
They absolutely did.
Right,
And
yeah.
they hack him, they hit him and all
Yeah.
that. You know what? Whatever. He still produced. He still
Absolutely.
produced. And if we go through the stats, and maybe next week, should he win, we'll go through some of them.
Yeah.
There's one stat that just jumped out at me. In 4 of the 5 seasons, or no, what was it? In 4 seasons, his assists alone would have won him the scoring title.
Yeah.
Assists alone.
Insane.
Crazy. Like when you think about that.
That will
it's just
never be
nuts.
replicated.
No,
So I think that's the
absolutely
other
not.
argument for Gretzky,
So-
right?
I brought up that point too, that Jordan's records can be broken and are starting to
Sure.
get broken.
Yeah.
How can you do with Gretzky's?
Yeah.
And people can say what they want about the time, but Gretzky played with all those people. So Gretzky grew up in a system of this is how we play the game, and some people are a little bit better than others. The equivalent of Gretzky today would be is if a guy like Sidney Crosby got 190 points.
Yeah.
Was that much better than
Yeah,
everyone
yeah,
else,
true.
right? So, yeah, I give it to Gretzky as well. I just think it's harder to play the game of hockey. I said that last week, too.
That's the big one too.
Put on
Absolutely.
skates.
Yeah, it's so difficult, so hard, and absolutely.
So,
I'm
Dr.
down.
Ryan Todd, you were on...
Yeah, I'm voting the Gretter.
So it's
I hate the
Is this a
Oilers.
rift? Is this a rift in Macromind Media? Because I know Jordan's...
Jordan's gonna be all over Jordan.
Jordan votes
Yeah.
Jordan the first vote. The second I put the poll up, it's like vote Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
Jordan
he's
DeCoste.
going to probably hack into the system.
He probably
the
will.
Instagram mainframe and try and like.
He works for
skew the vote.
Facebook. Does he work for Facebook?
I don't know. You never know.
Part of
The,
Cambridge Analytica.
yeah, like our
awesome.
tech guys are just insane.
Well,
You never
that's all.
what
You know
they're
what? It's a clean sweep. It's a clean sweep. Three votes to nothing so far to start. If we were allowed to
If
vote.
we vote.
But Dr. Ryan Todd is allowed to vote.
And
So
he
it's
got
one
like 10
nothing.
votes.
It's
Oh,
one
yeah.
nothing Gretzky
Okay.
early.
Yeah.
It's
One nothing Gretzky
early in the game.
I
But-
mean, two sports, Mitch, that
Yeah.
we're talking about. Lead us into the two sports that are happening right now.
Right now, exactly.
CFL mini camps going on right now, boys. Rough Riders. Let's talk about that for the next 2 hours. We didn't talk about any CFL last time I was on here. I was so offended. I thought I was brought on the show to talk Rough
How about
Riders.
this? We'll make a promise to you that we talk CFL the next time because they'll probably be just like baseball, like halfway through the season, and you could tell us
You
that
know
they
what?
actually
I think
started.
I'll be the CFL
A
correspondent.
full
Is that
CFL
okay?
episode featuring Dr. Ryan Todd.
I
Only
promise,
CFL.
100%.
1 hour
Done.
Canadian Football League.
Done.
And as
That's
much...
a tough promise. Like,
No,
how
we'll
else
do
is
it for you.
podcast?
We'll do it.
We'll do
Why
it.
not?
Can I be the CFL correspondent?
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I wanted to do with my life. I fell back on this. You think I wanted this?
You think I wanted to be a
See,
doctor?
yeah.
You think I wanted this for myself?
Yeah, you know, smaller dreams, right?
Your parents look at you every day.
Mom,
They're like,
Dad,
how could you?
I'm giving up med school. Why? I'm going to Regina.
Follow your dream.
my like in Macklin, where I'm from, Saskatchewan, they would have been like, "Oh yeah, that's
He's going
it."
places.
Yeah, but now it's like, he could have been the CFL correspondent for a podcast somewhere, but now he's just a doctor.
I would imagine that would be big. But, you
Huge,
know, I think
huge.
you're doing okay. If you don't mind us saying, I think you're doing okay.
I don't mind you guys. You guys are too
I
good
think
to
you're
me.
doing okay.
Yeah.
But from there, we're going to go into the NBA. The NBA is in round 2. It only took them about a month. Like, honestly, why does it take
felt
so
long.
long?
It
It
felt
felt long.
That's another argument for hockey, right? There's nothing like the first round of NHL
nothing.
playoffs.
So
it's
good.
the most
Nothing.
brutal
So
sport
good.
experience there is.
Do you follow basketball at all,
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah. I follow the Raptors. Like globally, I'm like a peripheral fan, but I follow the Raptors closely.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, the NBA round 2 has started. We got the Houston Rockets versus the Pelicans of New Orleans. That one should be a blowout. I'm thinking
Yeah.
Houston's gonna
I think
pretty
so
much
too.
roll
Yeah,
over
it's
these
fine.
guys pretty fast. Then we got the team that was at the beginning of the year the team to beat, the Golden State Warriors, and then somehow
right.
they fell kind of out of limelight or something happened. They're taking on the team that everyone's wishing can kind of the David versus Goliath kind of idea, the Utah Jazz. Pretty sure Golden State, and actually Curry's back
I
today.
just read
Curry's
that
back.
today.
So
Yeah.
but is there enough ball for all three of them? See, in a weird way, Golden State played an excellent first round playoff game because no Curry, right? So one less guy that loves to shoot the ball, shooting the ball. Does this hurt them maybe a little bit?
I don't know. You know, everyone was talking about the last year and a half about, okay, well, you have Durant. Do you need Curry? And vice versa when one was out over the other. I mean, now with the knee injury, I think this is the second one this year. Now you got to start to really ask, is this a Kevin Durant team moving forward? Is that being talked about? I don't know. It's tough. Who would you stay on the team? You're the GM. You got to pick one if you had to.
Yeah, I think the team has been like their offense has been really formulated around Steph Curry, right? It's a shooting team. It's now a shooting league,
Absolutely.
right? And
Yeah.
there's nobody better than Steph Curry. So I was impressed how they played in the first round without him. And like when he comes back, I think there's going to be a bit of like, okay, guys, we're back to like how we used to play. Let's just start launching threes every chance we get. Half court, who cares? Give the ball to Steph.
Yeah,
let's
literally.
go.
Literally. I think some people would say Durant would be the guy you keep, but I'll be honest, there's just something about him that I don't like. I don't feel like he has that killer instinct. I'm a Curry guy. I'd roll with Curry on that one. Yeah. If we go from the West, we jump over to the East. It's the little team that could. The Boston Celtics just cannot stop, and they're playing, like we said last week, everyone's new favorite team, the Philadelphia 76ers. Game 1 was already played. Somehow Boston goes to Game 7 against the Milwaukee Bucks and our boy Giannis. I don't know what happened there. I don't know. Either
Maga,
way, they beat up. He's a full maga. So Milwaukee gets dropped. Boston beats them in 7. And then Boston comes out and says, hey, Philly, you're not that big a deal.
Yeah.
We'll beat you too. And they're up 1-0.
There you go. I think that trend's going to continue.
I think so, eh?
Well, the 76ers played good. Don't get me wrong. I like what they did in the first round.
Yeah.
I like seeing them achieve. We talked about that. They've been garbage for how many years?
Yeah.
But the Celtics, well-oiled machine. Team's got it figured out. Everyone knows their role and they do their job very well. And it comes together at the very end. I think they beat them by double digits.
Killed them. 14 points or something.
There you go. So I got the Celtics pretty fast in that one.
I can't help it. I'm kind of cheering for Philly just because
they're on
so
house
fun
money
to
though right
watch.
now, right? I think they've run out of steam.
said.
Young team. I think like the future is whatever they want to make of it, right? But it was a surprise. Even just the playoffs for them was a big surprise.
Yeah.
Everyone loves that story.
Absolutely.
I think they're done.
And
We
Meek Mills was there.
save the best for last.
It is, absolutely. And there's a reason for it. Our boys from the North, we the North, our Raptors are literally playing one guy, LeBron James. I'm not even calling them the Cleveland Cavaliers anymore
Yeah.
because after what I saw on Sunday, where was the rest of that team? They might as well all sat down and LeBron play 1-on-5 because that's what that game was.
It might as well have
And
been.
he won it for him.
And you know what? What a great performance. And at the end of the game, look, I'm not a big LeBron guy, but he won some points with me. Like he really did because he's done it a couple of times now in the last couple of years where he's literally put the team on his back, carried them to wins. I don't care for the drama too much. I'm not going to lie to you. He's like in that press conference. I don't know if you saw it. He's like, I'm tired, guys. I'm tired. I just want to go home. He just wanted to go home and drink some vino. Like, this is a big thing. I don't know if you know this. He loves red wine. Loves
right?
it. Huge
Big
connoisseur.
red wine guy.
Is
Big
he on
red
drugs
wine
too, Dimitri?
Well, I don't want to get into it, but my sources.
Let's get into it. What are your thoughts, Dr. Ryan Todd? Do you like the Raptors? Do you like the Cavaliers here? What do you like?
They have to, Mitch. If they don't do it, as soon as the Cavaliers got in, the whole country was like, "Yee," because there's this. I think one other thing that was interesting about your greatest of all time list was that the true greatest of all time kind of individuals, like the generational players, the Gretzkys, the LeBrons, the Sidney Crosbys, the Federers, they instilled this like psychological fear in their opponents, right? Even if it's just LeBron versus like the entire Raptors team. Like the Raptors should beat the Cavaliers, but there's this nagging voice. You know it in the back of their head. They can talk around it, but they know they're playing LeBron, and LeBron just is LeBron.
Quick segue. Is that a mental health stigma? Can you Can you define that as that? That itching. It's the Achilles heel. It's in the back of the head, back of our head. When you play this team, it's the LeBron thing. Is that something that maybe you can diagnose to a degree?
It's not like a condition. It's not diagnosable, but it's a performance issue for sure.
Okay.
And what I think makes a great champion, the greatest champion of all time, is when they can influence somebody's psyche. Like you're not just playing physical basketball and dominating physically, but you know that everything LeBron does, just like Federer had always done for years, so calculated, just a machinery that is just on autoplay, and all they do is win. Yeah. And once that beats you before the series starts, man, you're one of the best.
Damn it, I got to change my vote to Jordan. I have to change it. I have to change it. I have to change it
to Jordan.
It's going to Jordan now. It's 2-1.
In that series, I'm with you too, Dr. Todd, because in that series, Toronto, they just have to win. I feel they have a better team. I think overall they have a better team. The bench is playing so well for the Raptors all year, which might be the difference maker. Yeah. I'm going to go with Toronto. I'm going to say they are going to do it, and I'm just basing it off the performance. I'm not taking anything away against the Pacers. But like you said, Mitch, as well, they rely too heavy on one guy.
Yeah.
This team is not the same gelling Cavaliers team that it's been in years past, and I think the Raptors are riding a little high, and I really do. I really believe that they're going to take them. I'm going to call it in 6.
Can you hear that, Dimitri? Mm-hmm. Can you hear that?
What's
Big Data screaming right now in his basement. He's screaming.
He loves
He's
it.
going crazy right now.
Yeah, that is big data.
That's Big Data if you can hear it in the background. I'm also going with the Raptors. However, going to what Dr. Todd said, when you think about the Raptors and the mental block they have, last year they lost 4-1. The year before was a sweep, 4-0. They have to win this. They have to. They have a better team. I think Indiana beat up in Cleveland enough to make that move now where they can kind of get by them. But if they win, but I'm going to say 7. I actually think this will go, unfortunately, to 7. It shouldn't go to 7. It should be done in like 5 or 6. But I think it's going to go to 7 because I think Toronto's going to have some issues overpassing that idea of beating LeBron. And once they beat LeBron, I think they're going to actually just roll over the next whoever it is, Boston or Philly, and they'll make it to the finals.
I mean,
this is their kind of their NBA finals to them in a weird
Mitch,
way.
you know, this is the same as the Washington Capitals.
Yeah.
The Toronto Raptors are in the exact situation as the Washington Capitals are.
So we're agreeing. So again, Toronto,
yeah.
and
Raptors in 6.
Raptors in 6.
Yeah.
I love it. This is great. You know, we're just getting along today. Me and you especially. This
Yeah,
is
no
fantastic.
fights yet.
You know, I listened to the podcast last week where we got into a little bit of the fight.
Little bit.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of like fighting with you.
Yeah, me too. It's good banter.
Because I feel like I can win that argument. At home, I can't win those arguments. Here, I can win this.
I don't think you won that
easy.
argument.
Oh, I think I won that.
I don't think you. No,
I
you just.
think I did.
You overtalk. You overtalk.
I overtalk?
Yes, you
I
overtalk,
overtalk.
Mitch. You don't
Me.
even let me get a word in. I have to fight to get a word in. It actually looks like you win, but you don't actually win. And I'll tell you right now, you're not winning with that hat either.
Oh, really?
You're not winning with that hat.
I'm just representing my boys. My boys
Oh,
from Detroit.
so, okay, you're a Detroit
boys
fan
Detroit.
now.
I'm a lot of fans. I'm a sports fan at heart. I have another hat. I've told you this before. I have tons of hats.
I have at least 3 hats.
I have at least 36 actually.
36
Yeah,
hats.
I collect them.
Yeah,
I'm a hat guy.
that's awesome. That's
So
really cool.
I'm wearing a Detroit Red Wings hat, and Dimitri's giving me a hard time about it. So let's talk about what you want to talk about. Obviously, you wanted to segue into that.
Let's
talk.
do it.
Round 2, NHL.
Let's just start because we already talked about it. My boys, the Pittsburgh Penguins.
No,
playing-
I'd like
No.
to leave that to the end.
I want
please.
it now.
Why do you want it at the beginning?
Yeah.
Do you eat dessert at the front? That's the best part. That's
Well,
the
if
creme de
my,
la
if my
creme.
button's about to pop, it looks like
There's
I
an
do.
agenda here, Doctor. Have we not grown up since last time you saw us?
It's unbelievable to have the organizational structure
Thank you.
and just, I mean, the show has grown.
We like to think so.
Yeah.
We
This is
try
for
to-
you, head
try
versus.
to
Look
stay
at
in
the
order here.
structure.
I didn't get an agenda. However,
Well, because you're
You don't
so
need one.
beautiful and so fast. It's just we didn't.
don't butter me up, Mitch.
You're a beautiful man.
But
He's
it's
a
true.
beautiful man.
He's a great. Well, the people can see. The people can see this. Well, let's start in the West. If
Okay,
you don't mind,
fine.
let's just stay on agenda. Let's start in the West.
Okay, fine. I
Okay,
got excited.
awesome.
Dr.
I know.
Todd's here. I told you. I got excited.
But we're going to start with a big one. Let's start with the Winnipeg-Nashville series.
Oh, okay. Look, everyone knows this is a juggernaut of a collision, if you will.
Yeah.
Winnipeg looked really good in the first game. Nashville looked really good. Now, I know the game was close. Pekka Rinne played terrible in the first period, led 2 goals that were garbage.
Yeah.
If that is a game that's 2-0 for Nashville going into the second period, or even 1-0 Nashville, the whole makeup of the game, that first overtime, Nashville was all over them. I'm at the point now, after seeing the first 2 games, I'm just sticking with Nashville in 7, but I don't know. I just don't know which way this is going to go. What an evenly matched team. And on a side note, that Scheifele, man's that guy he's got wheels.
And he's playoff
Oh.
MVP. Yeah, he's in the mix for playoff MVP so far, for sure. Which, you know, who knew that when he first got into the league, you know, got sent down to the minors. He was a guy that was tagged as a blue chip prospect, didn't quite live up to his potential. And now look at him, like the guy is a machine out there. They're such a physical team, you know, like they are. I gotta go Winnipeg.
Yeah.
In 7. Just because of their physicality. Like Bufflin's taken over.
See him ragdolling 2 Nashville players. It's just like, get off me, you guys.
Yeah.
Is absolutely. I'm with Dr. Ryan Todd. I said last week, Winnipeg in 7, very physical series, fun to watch. That's what hockey's all about. This series to me is what hockey's all about. I love it.
Excellent.
But the game that me and you were researching last night, what a second round, you think that a little momentum is off, a little exhaustion starting to set in. Hell no, not in the Vegas San Jose series. These dudes might as well all be in speed skating. Like, I have never seen such fast hockey.
Track race.
Fast hockey. And Vegas pulling it off again. What a back and forth game yesterday was. Vegas leading the series 2-1 now. I am so in love with Vegas. They are winning me each and every time I watch them. They're winning me over.
It's organization, Mitch. You see, they're so organized. It's incredible and fast. Obviously, they're getting great goaltending. What's crazy about that game I was over at Mitch's yesterday, and it's 1-0 San Jose. Vegas scores 3 goals in the matter of 5 minutes. They're up 3-1. That's when I leave.
Yeah.
Coming in the third period, I'm like, okay, well, call it a night. Drive home. On the way home, get home. It's a tie game going into overtime. So it's funny because I picked San Jose after the first game. Actually, after the first 2 games, I should say, even though the Sharks did end up winning. But Vegas really controlled that. I was a little scared. I'm like, eek, my San Jose pick's going to look pretty bad. But it might turn out.
You picked San Jose.
I picked San Jose to win that series, yeah.
What do you like, Doctor?
I do like San Jose, but like San Jose is one of those teams, right? That's just continually like disappointing. I think like they've had a bit of a youth injection. Logan Couture obviously is playing phenomenally well right now.
Yeah.
And Vegas, man, when are they going to stop winning games? Like
I don't think they got the memo. I don't think they realize.
Like they just have to. At some point, James Neal has to say, "Look, I'm a third liner, guys. I can't score anymore." It's never going to happen.
And he's not taking any penalties.
They're so disciplined. They're so
what about
structured.
that Carlson
they're
guy,
so
man?
well.
That
Unbelievable.
dude is.
He's the better Carlson.
Wow, I think he is.
See that goal? The overtime winner? What a snipe.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, just
And across his
snipe.
body, like the way he kind of.
Well, he's on his off wing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Excellent. Well, let's jump to the East. Last week, Dr. Reintar, we're sitting here. Jeff and the boys are giving us updates in that Toronto-Boston.
Oh, yeah.
We leave here, Toronto up 4-3, heading into third. Me and Dimitri go to the local place next door over at Joey's. Somehow the game ended 7-4.
7-4.
Toronto, what happened, guys?
Why?
We had your back. We were cheering for you. I almost got into a fight. Dimitri almost got into a fight. We were arguing
We
with
almost
people.
didn't have you on the show.
We were ready to fight guys over there.
People from Toronto are personally responsible.
Yeah. What happened? Well, unfortunately, what happened was Toronto lost. Boston, Tampa Bay. That series also now tied at 1-1, right?
That's a good series.
What do you? I like this one. This is like the big team versus the fast team, right? I took Boston in this one, Doctor. What do you
I
like?
take Boston too. They're just playing so well. Like they're just playing such a tight hockey game right now. And like I didn't even blame the Leafs for losing. Like they lost to a better team. The Leafs are an up and coming team. I think Boston's just playing so incredibly well right now. They just can't. And they're playoff hardened. A lot of those guys have been through it all. And so I like Boston a lot right now.
I like Boston, definitely. But what I saw out of yesterday's game with Tampa Bay, if Tampa Bay continues to play like that, this series is going to be over very quick.
Sure.
I think it's the first time they played a New Jersey team that we all knew they were going to beat.
Yeah.
I think New Jersey kind of limped in a little bit.
Sure.
But, I mean, limped in by the way they were playing in the second half, not the first half. And, man, if Tampa Bay is on, you guys, this is a scary team. This is a scary, scary team. And if that defense clicks too, they can shut anybody out. So I'm still taking Tampa.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we go into now you can take your pants off. Now you can sit back, relax, and do your thing. We got the Washington Capitals versus Dimitri's favorite existence of life team,
Absolutely.
the Pittsburgh Penguins.
My beautiful
The
Penguins.
series is it 1-1?
1-1.
1-1. Tonight, actually, as we speak, they're playing
As
right
we
now.
speak,
Yeah.
I don't even want to look at a score.
You're not going to check it?
Don't want to check it.
All right, fair enough.
Don't want to get disappointed.
I see, because of what happened last week.
Yeah,
like the jinx
see
thing,
what I'm
the
doing?
Monty thing.
You like
I got
it?
you.
You like
I got
it?
you. Fair enough.
Look, I'll be honest. Pittsburgh is obviously without. I mean, Hagelin adds a little bit of speed, but not having Malkin on the team definitely is a bit of a factor. I mean, he provides goals and as a second line center, but the first game Washington had it. Washington should have closed out the Penguins.
Yeah.
They scored 3 unanswered goals in the third period. You just can't have that happen. How they played the Penguins in the second game was excellent. They definitely took it to Pittsburgh. And if Malkin doesn't come back and Pittsburgh doesn't get a little more organized, this team's in trouble. And normally, like the other years when Washington was playing good and Pittsburgh still came back to beat them, I could look at game 1 and 2 and truthfully and say, you know what, Pittsburgh's coming back. I'm not worried.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried. This time I'm worried. Washington looks good. I I'm still taking the Pens in
Well,
7,
yeah.
but I think this might be the year.
Are you worried about the Pittsburgh goaltending?
No. He'll bounce. He's a good bounce back goalie.
Yeah, he's looked pretty rough in the first 2 games. Even when they won, that was a tough game.
I think the defense has changed. I think in his psyche he doesn't have the same decor as he has had before. So that's just me.
Doctor, who do you like?
Yeah, it's a tough series to call. I like Washington in this series. It's going to go 7. It's going to come down to goaltending. The teams are so evenly matched.
Absolutely.
I just want Ovechkin to just get by the Pens. You
Don't we
know,
all?
I just
Don't we
like
all?
he's such a beauty. You know, you just want him to win.
Exactly.
And the Pens have had their day. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's kind of a little piece of me is cheering for both, and I'm with you. I took Washington and said in 7, and I want to see Ovi celebrate. I think he will just turn into Ovi of 20 years ago or whatever it is, and he will be just a crazy guy to have. I do think they're a lot like Toronto. They win this. This is their Stanley Cup. They want this. I heard the White House is shutting down, ready to go. Trump is like ready to go. He's ready. He's ready for all this.
Everything.
I know everyone's waiting for a joke there. There was no joke. Trump is literally waiting for this. That was my joke.
I was like waiting for.
Speaking of waiting.
Waiting for
Speaking of
this.
I got a little story for you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because right now we're bringing dirty secrets from Locker 19.
Oh boy.
Mitch, this life that we live.
This one's a good one.
This
I
one-
actually know for a fact this is true. I was with him when this happened.
It comes out of nowhere. I mean, we're just a couple guys wanting to watch a hockey game and hang out and live our lives.
Exactly.
And of course, we hear a little something, a little rumbling in the Locker 19. So we open it up. Check this out.
All right.
Apparently, someone that we know that we know that we know.
A friend of a friend of a friend.
Exactly.
Yes.
Did a little Vegas trip. Let's get the group together. Let's go to Vegas.
Not too long ago.
Let's have a good time.
That's right. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you here.
Why not have a nice little girls trip?
Yeah, girls trip.
Why
Yeah.
not? Why not? Well, one of the friends, let's just say, likes the Nelly Furtado song Promiscuous Girl. And is a sports fan.
He worked on that. He did.
And if I were to tell you, boys, that if you think that married NFL players stick true to their vows, you may be wrong. And the one thing you may be right about is perhaps a current roster active NFL player that if I said the name, which we don't in Dirty Locker
We
19,
never talk the names. We just tell you the stories.
would be dumbfounded. That's right.
How
a
dumbfounded?
friend of a friend.
The name's actually pretty big. Like even a casual NFL fan would.
One night in Bangkok makes a hot man a move. Dun, 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 dun. And that, my friend, is a secret from Dirty Locker 19.
Probably your best one yet.
That segment is just like, speak of accountability, Mitch.
Yeah.
Let's get back to this. There is just like accountability is just not even on that page. You could say whatever you want in as vague of terms, just as enticingly as possible.
Oh, absolutely. If you're a good storyteller, you can take this all
and
day
that's
to
Dimitri.
the bank. That's
so
right.
it's a perfect segment for you, Dimitri.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, he loves it.
I just wanted you to
If
appreciate
you could have seen his eyes last week when he heard the story, it was like a little kid opening a present at Christmas. He was like,
Oh, man.
you are feeding meat to the hyena right now."
The story gets told. I look at Mitch. I go, you know, we have Dirty Locker 19 next week. He's like, that's a no-brainer.
Obviously.
And these stories are all
They're true.
allegedly true.
Alleged, yes, allegedly. Alleged. As far as my knowledge.
This last one was true. I'll give him that one. The other ones I can't 100% verify, but
They're true.
that's what happens.
Oh, no.
Nothing on this show can anyone 100% verify. I think we've established that.
Yeah. You know what we can verify though? You're a real doctor. Do you have a license or
I
something
am
you can show people or something, or a ring or
Yeah, do
something?
you get a badge?
Well, it's funny you
That'd
ask
be
that.
so cool.
Because I was on a flight, and this happens consistently to doctors, right? And like I wear very casual clothing. I'm a hunter, so I was in like camouflage, and I had like my camouflage hoodie, or in Saskatchewan call it our bunny hug, and So they, the overhead, is there any doctors on the plane? And Anna kind of gives me the old nudge. And I'm like, okay. So I stand up. I'm like, yeah, what's going on? And they looked at me like, So they took me over to the individual who's struggling. And, I felt I could contribute some assistance as a physician. And they were like, what kind of, are you like a paramedic or like
They were questioning
first
you.
responder? I'm like, listen, you want my help or not?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
This guy's obviously in trouble, and you
Yeah.
guys are questioning me now.
And then they were like, do you have any identification? I'm like, okay, you're good. You take care of this yourself. They're like, no. Just maybe show us a card. I'm like, I don't have a card that says you're a doctor. Like, what kind of card is this?
I think you doctors need one. Like engineers have the rings, right?
Yeah.
Grills.
What else?
Dr. Grills.
Grills would be
Fangs.
amazing. That'd be fantastic.
Or like a spinner kind of necklace.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I think
even
a badge
better.
would be cool. Hi, Dr. Ryan Todd. How you doing?
Yeah, that doesn't exist. We don't have a card in our wallet that says,
Of course.
I am a
Well, let's
doctor.
start a movement. We started all these other movements.
Yeah, we got the Karate Kid. We got a segment. We got a new.
That's
a
right.
new Karate Kid
Gout,
movie.
we've attacked it head on.
Gout's basically dead now because of us.
I don't know. Are there any reported
Congratulations,
cases?
by the way. I work in a hospital and there's been no gout.
Yeah.
That you guys have
We don't wanna
eradicated.
say that.
The
We did it,
numbers
but we
don't
did it.
lie.
This disease has been around since the time of Hippocrates,
Right.
and
Yeah.
you've now eradicated it with 30 podcasts.
Well, exactly.
How the?
Well, because
Don't
you know what it
ask.
is? Gout's a liar. Everyone said that gout was for rich people and for whatever. We've obviously taken care of it. We
And I'm
knew
I'm the
that
brokest
doesn't-
guy I know.
So the gout's like, they called me out on it. It's not for rich people, and we figured that out right away.
Yeah,
And the second
absolutely.
thing is
Yeah.
gout. Everyone says is the foot. We saw it firsthand. It hits the shoulder. So gout.
That was a
twice lied.
bursitis. That
It was
wasn't the gout. It
You
wasn't
know
the gout.
it was gout.
I've had
and
gout
it was,
in my
it
hand,
was
but
gout the
that's
whole time.
Don't mislead.
I'm just telling you, you were out for a month. It had to have been gout.
The bursitis. The whole network was messed up.
But we
over
talked
there.
about this. To have bursitis, that means you have to have done something physical
Spell
in the
bursitis.
past.
Spell it.
I'm just telling you.
Spell it.
I'm not. You know
No,
what?
I want you to
We
spell
have
it.
a guest here. You do this all the time. You embarrass us. Let's talk.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You are such a good little argument manipulator. You just spent the last 30 seconds embarrassing me. I throw one comment and you play the victim. You know what else you do? And I'm going to throw it out because it's been bothering me. Every time you always come up to me with gossip. I mean, you have your own locker 19 that you could. Locker 20 should be Mitch's.
Sure.
Locker 20. And it's all this gossip. And then I'm like, no way. And then when I start saying, you're like, you little gossiper.
Exactly.
And I know you're
what that's
telling
called?
all your
You know what
friends.
that's called? You're a rat. That's what it's called. That's
I'm not
what
a
it is.
rat. You're the bigger
You're
gossiper.
the rat. That's
You're
what it
the
is.
biggest gossiper
Hey, I
ever.
might gossip, but I'll tell the world about
Mitch,
it.
you
Whatever.
sandbagger. You're burying me. I don't like
we
it.
have a guest.
Hey,
We have a guest. So,
I remember this happening last time. I had this couples counseling
That's right.
intervention.
nothing's changed.
nothing changed.
I thought you guys have grown.
Well, a little bit. No, it's gotten better, believe it or not.
What am I doing with my career if I can't even? Okay.
All right. Well,
Well,
we brought Dr. Ryan Todd on for a reason.
That's
because we want to talk about the big issues and the real big issues
Yeah.
that are hitting sports. We're talking about mental illness. We're talking about concussions. And ever since you were on, Dr. Ryan Todd, it seemed to have really fruition. DeMar DeRozan came out and talked a little bit about
Yeah,
his
it's been
symptoms.
great. Yeah.
And then Kevin Love came out and said,
Yeah.
I got the same situation going on. And it seems to, literally from the last time we spoke, it seems to have really come out.
Yeah, in the sports world for sure.
What is going on in that kind of world right now? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, people are just they're okay to talk about it. I think there was always this thing you're an athlete or you're a man, whatever that shield is, you can't talk about it. You have to cover that up. I think it's just becoming with just all the movements, all the momentum in this space. I think it's becoming okay to talk about it, which is cool. I think if I had. That's what I think one of my jobs is as a psychiatrist, right? Is just to destigmatize. And I think if I would have started this job 20 years ago, it would have been a different story. I happen to be lucky enough to be born in a time when this wave is already crashing, right? The momentum is there. And it was really cool that even DeMar DeRozan had a clip today, just giving a shout out to Kevin Love. So I think the wave has begun. It's really neat to see.
That's awesome.
Well, it was, and it was great, and I'm glad we talked about that topic, just like Mitch had just spoke about. But we also talked about how there's that fine line of there's the mental health stigma, and then there's concussions, and sometimes these worlds can overlap, but do they? And that's what we want to talk here. We want to be more a little concussion focused, and I think where we want to start with Dr. Todd is, what is a concussion by definition?
Yeah, so So concussion, just to start off, it's kind of ill-defined because there's so many ways you can hit your head and then so many ways that can present itself. For example, there's over 60 symptoms of concussion. So like another sports injury, like an ACL tear, for example, 6 symptoms. There's a classic triad of symptoms that you tear your ACL and you go to the doctor and they say that's it. With concussion, there's over 60 symptoms. So it's a syndrome. Essentially, it's a type of traumatic brain injury. You can get it if you get hit in the head, the face, the neck, the body. And there is a short-lived period of what's called neurologic deficit. So you can get knocked out, or you can feel like you see sparks, or you can have some memory deficits, or you feel like you got a dinger. Those acute neurological deficits usually resolve. And then we have the concussion symptoms. So over 60 symptoms, most adults, those symptoms will resolve within about 2 weeks. The vast majority, with children or young people playing sport or who get in an accident, it'll resolve within a month. And then those who don't recover in that period of time, which is a minority of individuals, they will have post-concussion type of symptoms or prolonged symptoms. And that's the world I live in. I treat athletes who have prolonged symptoms. So the most common types of symptoms, headache, nausea, sometimes vision changes, neck pain, dizziness. And I deal with individuals who have things like depression after they get a concussion, or a generalized anxiety disorder after they get a concussion, or personality changes after they get a whole series of head injuries.
Right.
So that's where the space gets fuzzy, right? You can have a concussion and can have functional deficits and how it affects your brain. And sometimes that can result in a mental illness. So that's the gray zone that we're talking about.
Wow.
That's interesting. And you touched on something that I want to revisit. You said even a trauma to the body.
Sure. Yeah.
How does that work? That's something that even I didn't. I mean, sure. I think my mind goes to hockey. You have a body check. Maybe you get rattled. Is it exactly along those lines?
Yeah. So your brain is in just essentially jelly, and it bumps up against a very hard surface called your skull, and our brains really anatomically are just not meant to be hit with this extreme force. You're skating incredibly fast and you come up against a very hard surface. And your brain moves and bumps up against your skull in a couple different ways, back and forth, or it rotates around your brainstem, essentially. We call that rotational acceleration, and those are very damaging concussions when your brain twists around the brainstem. Essentially because we have these structures in our brain that are very delicate and stretch from the front of the brain to the back of the brain, called it's white matter tracts, and those get ripped and torn in small ways when you get a concussion.
Wow. Now, I got a quick little question for you. When it comes to sport, like you deal with a lot of the sporting industry and the athletes that are involved in that. Do you think that the equipment that the athletes are using? So I'm primarily talking a little bit more hockey and football right now. Okay. Yeah. Back in the 80s, you had a guy like Craig McTavish ripping around the ice, no helmet.
Yeah.
And you never hear I know not everyone can have a concussion, but do you think that the matter of more equipment made people feel more comfortable, and then all of a sudden maybe more injury happened because people thought they were more padded up and they could do more stuff like that? Like, does that have anything to do with anything? Like, I just feel like in the last 20 years we've seen such an influx of concussions, and then when you kind of add in the amount of equipment that's been added, you'd think it'd go down, but it actually went up. Does that have any play in it at all?
Yeah, I think you bring up two really thoughtful points there. So one is recognition of concussions has gone up. So we have spotters in the NHL and the NFL. That system is not perfect, obviously, but we see more concussions. We diagnose more concussions. Young people are coming to the emergency room more often than they used to. When we were growing up playing sports, you got your bell rung, you'd go home and shake it off.
Right.
Now young people are going to the doctor, which is awesome. So that's one point, is recognition. The other piece is about equipment. I think the argument is just unequivocal. The gear that we have as hockey players, we're like knights out there. We have these very hard-shelled elbow pads. We have hard gloves. You even look at Gretzky's gloves. He had these soft mitts that went right up to his elbows. He hardly had elbow pads.
Right.
He had the like Jofa soft elbow pads, and he had that like dirty Jofa bucket too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so we feel like we're stronger. We skate faster. The game has changed dramatically since you took out the red line. So the game's quicker. You look at Connor McDavid's skate. Like that guy is just lightning fast. We've never seen that speed before. So, and the same thing in the NFL, right? Guys are running quicker. The gear is padded more. So hitting, it just doesn't hurt you as much. So you're running into guys at a quicker pace. And your brain doesn't care about equipment.
Yeah, of course.
Like it's quite well known that hockey helmets don't prevent concussion. They prevent traumatic like skull fractures and facial lacerations. But helmets and masks don't do a great job of protecting your brain because your brain is stuck in this gelatinous mass in your skull.
You actually really just answered what was going to be my next question. Will the equipment ever catch up to preventing concussions? You know, at present time, it seems by your answer that it's not quite there yet.
I mean, our brains were designed from our evolutionary process has been going on for just thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and we're trying to design equipment like really the helmet hasn't changed much in 10 or 15 years. Right. So equipment, my opinion, it's not going to be the answer. It's going to be rule changes and attitudes towards hitting.
Now I look at it in this way. I know that sometimes the sports and the organizations and committees, they can be handcuffed because they have to deal with growing the sport. There's a business side to everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Are the sports taking, in your view, the right steps?
I think they've been forced to. For example, litigiously, the NFL has needed to take those steps. I think the NHL is still embroiled in this legal battle, so it feels like they can't go forward as aggressively as they wanted it to. I also think an interesting thing is happening where the fan base has said, we don't need fighting. We don't need concussions. We don't need brutal hits to enjoy the game. I think that mentality has changed. So that's just happened as a kind of a cultural phenomenon as a side effect.
Right. Well, I'm watching Don Cherry on Hockey Night in Canada the other day, and of course he's got the old school mind, and he's a big advocate for the instigator rule getting taken out and players kind of governing themselves and certain things wouldn't happen. I hate to ask, it might be weird asking yourself, but is that the right approach or the absolute wrong approach?
Well, there's a couple of thoughts there that I think are really interesting. Like culturally, so much has to change for there to be a change in that particular sport.
Right.
Like you guys are boxing fans. So the best example, Mancini, Dooku Kim, 1981, November, Caesar's Palace, 14th round, boom, boom, Mancini knocks Dooku Kim out. He kills him. Cerebral hemorrhage, he dies. So the rule change after someone died on national television, this is when there was 2 channels, was to reduce championship rounds from 14 to 12 rounds. So we've accepted such a level of profound violence in sport that something dramatic has to happen before a rule change or something happens. So in the NFL, that was the lawsuit, I think.
Yeah.
In the NHL, it was just this just throng ad nauseum of media crushing the NHL. So that change is happening now. To answer your question more directly, I don't think Don Cherry has that much significant influence on the national discussion either way.
Right.
Well, you know what? I listen to a lot of other podcasts, and I hear a lot of other sports athletes out there. And there's the one thing I've been hearing a lot of is other moderators, whatever you want, asking pro athletes or ex-pro athletes, would you let your son or daughter play in these sports? And you'd be surprised. It's an overwhelming no. So if they were NFL players, they're like, no way is my kid playing contact football. If they were even hockey players, no, they're not going to play that. I think that should ring big bells. When you talk about Don Cherry saying it, let Don Cherry talk about what he wants to talk about. But when the guys that just finished the sports are saying, you know what, no, I'm not even letting my kid. This is how they made their living. This is how their kid eats. And they're saying, no, I don't want them going down that road. That's a big thing. But I got a question for you, Dr. Ryan Todd. You just brought up boxing, and I got to ask, if they made you commissioner of boxing or something, what would you do? Would you kind of stop boxing? Would you? What are your thoughts? I guess my question is on MMA, boxing, stuff like that. Do you find that barbaric? Is it too much for you? What do you think?
Like, look, we as a society have accepted a reasonable. Not reasonable. It's an unreasonable amount of violence in the sport, and there are some sports, boxing, for example, where the sole purpose of that sport is to punch a guy in the face until they get a concussion or they're unconscious. Like, that's the goal. It's not like shooting a basket in a hoop. The goal is to give a guy a concussion. So the core of that profession is never going to change. And to some extent, that happens with football. So I always ask this question when we're at conferences about concussion. Can you save football? I don't know if you can. Like, all the safe tackling in the world, heads up tackling, spotters, Tom Savage is still getting rocked in the end zone and he's still out there the next play.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. And that sort of thing is going to happen in football because it's just such a brutal sport. And what I think needs to happen is kind of what the CFL has done, is reduce hitting in practices. They no longer have full contact practices during the season in the CFL. The best you can do is reduce those small head injuries throughout the course of the season. And then at some point, everyone involved, fans, owners, players, have to accept that concussion is going to be at least a part of the game. Yeah. In hockey is a different story. You can save that game. You don't need concussions in hockey.
Yeah, agreed. I'm all for it. I'm 100% with you. I just find that hockey is one of those. It falls unfortunately in that realm of a lot of codes, a lot of traditional things, and I think that's until these guys have like really kind of figured out where they want to go with that, and if they're good enough to say, you know what, we don't need to be fighting anymore. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I think you can kind of stop it from happening.
Speaking of the Pittsburgh Penguins, question here is Sidney Crosby, concussions that he went through years ago. As a professional on the outside, not a fan of the game, would you instruct this person to never step on the ice again? And or along with that question, was it as bad? Did he actually have that bad of a concussion, or was it because he's so high profile that they took him off the ice for a longer period of time than he needed to?
Interesting. Like, I mean, there's a lot wrapped into that question. I can't speak at all for the concussion protocol he went through and how severe it was, and the protocol that he had to undertake. I could only assume that level of player is totally appropriate. And he's been performing at a high level, and everything's been great since. What I can speak to is the all-starness of Crosby, because there are a lot of guys who are in the bottom 30% of the league, who we know that can be replaced by the top 30% in the AHL or any semi-professional league. So those guys are literally working for a paycheck. And working for their families. So if I'm in that position, I'm more apt to hide a concussion for sure. And I see a lot of players in that position who have had probably one too many concussions because they didn't want to take themselves out of the game. And you can understand where they're coming from. You wouldn't blame them.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Ryan Todd, we'll ask one last question here. Because it's being recognized more, people are talking about it more, you got your spotters, like you said, in both the NHL and the NFL and maybe some of the other sports. Do you see the progress better, or do you think there's still it's not going to get any better? It's going to take a little while for it to get fixed. What are your thoughts on it going forward?
This is, I guess, just a personal opinion. I think it's getting better. I've seen no good statistics either way on amount of concussions in professional leagues, or incidents or prevalence, like how often they're happening. I haven't seen great studies in both leagues. I don't think the leagues are particularly wanting to do those studies. What I think has changed are the brutal hits to the head and us celebrating those. Rock'em Sock'em 1 to 20 was just that, right? Was just in hindsight, it was Don Cherry saying, look at this sweet concussion, right? And you'd watch, Monday Night Football, and the highlight reel would be guys getting speared on the side of the head, and they got blew up. And that was celebrated. I think that celebration is just faux pas right now. So that's getting, in addition to the penalties of contact with the head, that's been a huge improvement. There is going to be at some point a ceiling as to how many concussions you can prevent, and the players will need to subsume some sort of just natural risk. Like if I'm playing and I might experience a concussion, I'm willing to accept that risk.
Absolutely. That was awesome. Dimitri, do you have any?
No, that was, you actually answered the very last one that I did want to ask. So
You know what? I love this topic. We could sit and talk, and maybe that's what we have to do. Like literally give a whole hour to this stuff because we could go. I feel like you could talk about it well.
Yeah, I
feel
love
like we're
this
making
stuff.
you work
Yeah.
twice. Like you just got off, and then now you're here talking about it more. But
Mitch gets off work at like 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
so
it's like-
not.
If he does,
yeah.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
I was jobless for
there's
3
been
months.
some questions as to the workability of the both of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Truly.
Like how employed are
noted.
the two of you is really a.
Well,
There's been some questions.
Hey, you know what? That's totally fair. I don't know who these people are, but that's totally fair. Totally fair.
I'm actually
That's it.
jobless. I've been lying. I'm looking for work.
Well, here we go. We are down to the Dr. Ryan Todd. We do this thing. We started a little while ago. We did it as a joke, and it's blew up into something that everyone like literally waits for. It's Maga versus Malaka.
And the best part too is because Ryan and I have been dear friends for some time. That
Right.
We don't even have to explain what this means.
He gets it.
He knew.
That's
he knows
amazing.
what a maga
That's good.
is,
Well, that's-
like me, and he knows what a malaka is, like me too.
Like you too. So what we did is this week we were watching that Vegas game, and I don't know how we got into it, but we said, hey, let's do secondary. What do we call it? Secondary help, or in sports and in life. So people that are kind of on the sidelines, like helping out or doing their thing, are they magas or are they malakas? Okay, and here we go.
And we're gonna answer that right now.
Here we go. Managers in wrestling, maga or malaka? Like a Mr. Fuji or a
Mr.
Bobby the Brain.
Mr. Bobby the Brain or something like that.
Harvey
Maga.
Whippleman.
Maga.
Maga.
Yeah.
See, I think I go on the hot factor. If it's a hot manager, maga. If it's not, malaka.
You know what? I'm gonna go malaka because they're always up to no good.
They're up to no good.
Yeah.
They're always doing
They're
something.
never honest.
They're not
They
honest.
never
they're
have the
never- they're always
wrestler's
for the
best
bad guy.
interest. Yeah. Like you never see a good guy have a really stand up manager.
That's a good point.
No,
Yeah.
I saw the
thought
other
of
day on
I changed my
YouTube.
answer.
Yeah.
Malaka. They're always up to no good. Yeah.
Bobby the Brain, he even slapped Mr. Perfect. I saw it on YouTube. That's Mr. Perfect.
That's Mr. Perfect.
Who do you think you are?
Ball boys, maga or malaka?
Maga, those guys, man, they're
Mitch, I
day
agree.
in, day out.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. They run
great
faster than some
They do.
Olympians.
My respect is out to ball boy. Are you guys thinking ball boys in tennis?
I'm
Is
thinking
that what we're
tennis.
thinking?
I'm going tennis.
I'm
I
thinking
was
the
thinking
ball boys
football.
that are catching those foul balls that are being batted at them. I'm going maga on
Oh.
that as well. That's a scary position.
That's a Saturday night for Mitch, by the way.
What about in baseball? Don't think I didn't catch that. In baseball, there's somebody actually. Their position is the bench coach. That's their position name. Maga or malaka?
Malaka.
Yeah, malaka's
They're
right.
just it's something in between that's like they're just employed because they're just well respected.
Exactly.
And like what do they do?
And the best part, they're dressed up as
Yeah,
the
they're
players.
throwing
That's my
the
favorite
belt and
part.
the
That's my favorite part. They literally get to work like, oh, God, with the equipment on.
Do they wash their gear?
I doubt
day
it.
to day.
I mean, why would
Well, if
you?
you're the Yankees, it's made of cotton.
What about the equipment managers, towel boys? Are they magas or malakas?
Maga. I was a tall boy.
Were you?
Yeah,
Well,
for-
then we're on.
Yeah. Not that that's a proxy for Maga versus Malaka, but I know the gig. It's not an easy gig.
No, it's not. Hey, equipment
Cleaning
managers,
towels,
towel
people
boys,
snapping at you. No respect.
MAGA.
Dimitri, physiotherapists.
Physiotherapist,
Physiotherapists.
Malaka.
Malaka.
I'm a chiropractor.
Oh.
It's all
You don't like the massage? The massage is better.
No. I'm not into the active release. Well, some chiropractors do it, and I'm into that, but not straight physio. I want the Thai massage,
Yeah.
and I want a chiropractor, and I know a good one if you're ever in Cochrane.
What about
Hit me up.
Maga or Malaka, Dr. Ryan Todd, the entourage on boxing guys. The boxing guys got like 20, sometimes 30 deep. Maga or Malaka is the actual
Malaka.
entourage.
Like the Burger King guy.
King guy.
Malaka. We don't need that. Just
don't
walk
need that.
in, punch the guy in
That's
the
right,
face, get
done.
out of there.
Yeah.
What about interns or associates with elaborate titles?
Can you give me an example?
Dimitri.
The senior manager of developing underwriting management development business associate. Maga or Malaka. That's my
The
title.
name itself is just
Beautiful.
Malaka.
All right, sous chefs.
Oh, that's a tough gig. Yeah.
I go maga.
Maga. Oh
Those
yeah,
guys
yeah,
eat
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of they eat.
Stressful
what?
job
I
too.
go
Stressful
Malaka.
job.
What's that?
I'm going a sous chef, Malaka.
This one comes straight from Dimitri. It was a great one. I laughed my ass off. Birth doulas. Maga or malakas.
Jeez, you're bringing in a lot of the people that I work with, like allied health. Like I work with a ton of physiotherapists who are just
I think
amazing.
Your answer is maga.
Well, hey, we're
Maga,
Maga.
Maga.
Fluffers.
What is that?
Well, it's prepper, the appetizer before a feature BR film. Could be male or female.
Who do you think wrote that one
I
down?
think
Who do
we
you think
know
wrote
what
that one down?
Dimitri would answer.
Oh, Maga.
Oh,
Yeah.
maga. He's a big fan of the maga.
Also
All right.
part of my job description role.
Let's go. Second last one. Timekeepers in the penalty box that open the door. Magas or malakas?
Player could arguably, in rec hockey, we do it ourselves, so that it's a redundant position. But it's the big leagues. Yeah, let's go Maga.
Maga.
They show up every game. Like that can't be fun.
Last one, my favorite one. Sports psychologists. Magas or malakas? Well, again, who do you think came up with that one?
Who came up with that one?
Well, I'm going to go Maga right away.
100% maga. 100%.
That's how I feel.
That's the way we do it.
Set him up and knock
all
him
the way
down.
through.
Ryan,
Dimitri.
real locker room talk. Maga or Malaka?
That's right.
You guys are bad.
And you know what else is a big MAGA is Headversity and Macromind Media.
Absolutely.
Biggest MAGAs in the league.
Let's do it.
Man, this has been a great episode. Dr. Ryan Todd back in talking concussions. Everyone, you can follow it on @Headversity, okay? Macromindmedia.com. No joke. If you're looking for a website, if you're looking for things to get done, you got to follow them on there. Shout out to Agape Greek Radio. We stream Monday to Saturday, 9 p.m., 2 p.m. on Sunday as well, on Mountain Time, @Real Locker Room Talk, @Mitch and Dimitri, reallockerroomtalk.com. Did I mention Headversity yet, Mitch?
I think you...
I love that
No,
thing.
one more time.
Headversity, Macromind Media.
Do it up. Dr. Ryan Todd, thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
James.
coming in.
Till then,
Awesome.
we
Good
got to
to see you.
hit the showers.
Awesome.
That's nice.
That's nice. You know, when
I
he's
feel
back on, we're
cleaner.
going to talk about the darts. The dart game we played. You hustled me. You hustled
Oh,
me.
that was the most epic stuff.
I believe
Like
it.
Mitch, he hit a.
We were playing the points game. You got to go 20, 19, 18, right? We're going down. So we get to the point where you had to go green, bullseye circle, then red, right? And then you hit, I think, the 15 and game over. Well, for about an hour, we couldn't hit that.
like an hour.
I believe it.
We were going here, we were
Hard.
going. So finally, I throw the dart, boom, I hit the bullseye. I'm like,
Everyone goes. It was me and Dimitri, but everyone goes crazy.
hold him back, hold him back. Yeah, hold him back. Yeah, it was just him. Well, anyways.